Hello, and welcome to our session on digital transformation and the new normal. I'm Andy Pratt. I specialise in digital transformation with a particular focus on the food and drink industry. So the second quarter of this year has seen, well, it's been one of the most disruptive periods in the UK and the world we've ever seen, with the immense human cost, of course, and also the impact on trade and the economy. Over the next sort of 15 minutes or so, what we want to do is just share how the situation's been dealt with by different people and some of the response and innovation that we've seen and what the world will look like as we get back to some form of normality over the next kind of few months, we hope, particularly in relation to how digital and e-commerce is fitting into that. I'm delighted that we'll be joined by Mike Crees, the Managing Director of Tea Quality, shortly. Mike's kindly agreed to share with us some of the things which they've been doing and his views on what the world will look like. Tea Quality being one of the leading suppliers in the takeaway food market, known for fish and chips and things of that nature, and certainly the sharp end of the experience, really. So what I wanted to do is just briefly take you back to where we were in January of this year and how digital was really growing in our industry. We analyse this on a regular basis, and we publish an index for food service and food distribution. And the growth has been very strong over the last 2 or 3 years at least, averaging at about the 27% year-on-year mark. So pretty spectacular, really, given the overall e-commerce growth in retail and across the board has been more at the sort of 12 to 13%. There's a number of reasons for this, as people have got more used to shopping online in their personal lives. That's converted through to the workplace. I think technology has moved on as well. It's been a great innovator, and advances in things like mobile technologies and making these things easier to access has certainly stimulated growth for online within the customer base. So in March, April time, obviously the impacts of COVID started to kick in, and this had a clear, significant effect on the market. We saw unprecedented demand from consumers as sort of panic buying, or whatever you'd like to call it, kicked in, and of course as the hotels and catering industries closed down just about overnight, had a massive impact on the food service businesses, of course, and how people have had to deal with that. As you'd kind of expect, a lot of people kind of drew up the drawbridge and kind of locked down themselves, literally as businesses, to try and mitigate. But we also saw an awful lot of innovation and people who immediately started to look for ways to protect their business and keep the businesses going, but also to support their customers and the general consumers and public through the crisis. And we saw people do that by opening up business to consumer channels through click and collect and pop-up retail and delivered wholesale. So innovations of that nature, but also providing different ranges of products. So for example, health products, cleaning products, but also things like takeaway food cartons and things like that for the industry. So quite a lot of changes, and we see this continuing as things return to normal. Analysts in the market are predicting that the last 6 months has probably driven e-commerce generally forward by around about 2 or 3 years. And we feel that people who have pivoted around this and innovated in the business will be in a very good position to take that forward and in a better position to sort of survive and thrive as we go on. So I'd like to bring Mike into this. Mike will obviously introduce himself and the company in a little bit more detail than I have. So I'll just hand over and we'll get him online.
So I'm pleased to be joined by Mike from T-Quality. Mike's kindly volunteered to join us and share some of his experience and some of the things that T-Quality have been doing in recent times. So I do appreciate your time, Mike.
No problem.
I think in a particular moment, I know you're very busy, so really do appreciate it. So just start off, it'd be great if you could just set the scene really, and just maybe give a little bit of an overview about T-Quality and where you were up to the start of the COVID problems.
Okay. Yeah, T-Quality, we're kind of, our specialism is in fish, so we're a food wholesaler supplying predominantly the fish and chip shops throughout the UK. We have 10 distribution depots ranging from down in Bovey Tracy in Devon all the way up to Darlington. So we cover through into Scotland. We've got a depot down in Swansea in South Wales. So we cover pretty well the UK. We deliver to about 5,500 to 6,000 shops every week. But more recently, we've diversified into the care industry. So we've been providing fish and other consumables into the care industry. And we also, I'd say, dabble with pizza and kebab market as well. We operate a fleet of 100 vehicles delivering Monday, Friday, and Monday through to Friday and occasionally Saturday. Got just over 250 employees, and we've kind of gone through a bit of a restructuring over the last 3 years, become more in tune to the customer requirements. And kind of, Andy, that's where our relationship grew, in the fact that we needed to have an online ordering platform. And that's something that we've been working on for 18 months. And I suppose more recently, coming up to COVID, we were ready to launch the online ordering. Gently, softly, and just to make sure we launched it where it didn't fall over. COVID made us launch it. We took our armbands off effectively, and we haven't looked back.
So you say you pursued a digital strategy before the COVID outbreak. What made you go down that route?
So I've only been in the fish and chip shop industry for 3.5 years. I came from the automotive industry, and online was very much part of that. And it felt like the big opportunity, really. There wasn't that many other major wholesalers in our market pushing that. And it's quite a complicated model because it's around fish and fish that's arriving when it's arriving. So we embarked on that, and it for me it's the gap in the market and it's the way forward. The way we operate now is through 2 call centres, and actual fact more recently 3, because we just opened a 3rd call centre literally in the last 6 to 8 weeks, because business has picked up significantly. We found that we needed that digital strategy, not only from an online ordering point of view, but one of the issues that is very apparent in our industry is quite often, in certain parts of the country, English isn't the first language, and so there's always been an English barrier for a lot of customers to actually deal with us because it's been a telephone order. This opens up that market for us as well.
Okay, interesting. So when the COVID outbreak hit, I'm sure this was quite a painful experience for many people, and if it wasn't too painful, can you share what that might have looked like for you in the early days?
Yeah, it was funny because you couldn't turn around and pull the folder marked P for pandemic and understand what you should do as a managing director. We had to think quickly. What happened as soon as the lockdown commenced, 90% of our business went on day one, and you take it personally. You've got 250 employees that are reliant on a wage, and so we very quickly adapted. Luckily, we had the online order offer, so we were able to go to market and push that. We did still man our call centres, and basically we grew the business back from 10% of the business back to where we are today, which thankfully we are now above where we were this time last year, and our account numbers are growing. It's been a very challenging 12 to 16 weeks, Andy, if I'm honest. Very challenging 12 to 16 weeks, and you've had to make it up as you go along, ensuring that everybody that's working in the organisation is safe.
So quite a lot of quick thinking, I guess, in the early days.
Yeah, and in the early days, with a lack of understanding of what you needed to do, you know, if you think back, and I'm sure the government inquiry will think back as well and look at what happened. You're looking, the social distancing thing needed to come in. The hand cleaning it was great because you could understand that, but the social distancing, that was something that was quite different. We've never really had to deal with that as a nation, certainly as an employer. So you look at all your pinch points. So you've got call centres with call handlers sitting side by side. So suddenly you've got those, or that team is suddenly being forced to work from home or from a distant point of view. So we needed to spread people out around our offices. And then from a distribution point of view, I needed to make sure that warehouse staff weren't gathered in a tight area. So we've had to look at every role in the business and ensure that they're safe. Yeah. And then we've also got a team of 12 field salespeople that can't go cold calling, can't necessarily go in to see customers, and certainly couldn't to start with. And we're only just at that point now where we're just starting to get some of those guys and girls out seeing customers, but with face masks and all the protective equipment that they need. And instead of the cold call, it's now more around pre-made appointments. So we're still learning, it's fair to say, and I'm sure as other things happen throughout this pandemic that we will carry on learning. That's for a sure fact. I don't think we've seen the last of it yet.
Okay, no, that's interesting. So you said earlier on that you literally put your armbands on and jumped into the world of e-commerce, or brought the rollout of that forward.
Yes.
What kind of things did you do with that? What kind of things, or how did that help you with the situation you found yourself in?
Well, it's a good question. We had a grand plan for a big launch. We wanted initially to trial it through a few customers just to make sure that it did what we wanted it to do. But a lot of those trial customers initially are closed. So we decided to, as new customers started to come on board, we picked up a lot of new business in the last 12 weeks, which has been quite interesting. We've had a lot of pubs approach us, and what's been interesting is in that domain, the pub groups were quite often used to ordering online from their previous suppliers. So when we actually talked to those about this is something new that we've launched, they were already in tune with using that type of technology to place orders. We offered it to them, they started to use it. The tricky has been, and still is trying to shout that we've got it. We're using different mediums for that now. So we're using Facebook, we're using LinkedIn, we're also using traditional A4 flyers to go out with invoices to say, you know, hey, you can now order online. There's massive benefits for us, massive benefits. When I joined this business 3.5 years ago, I can remember one customer told me, one customer said, he said, the thing is with tea quality, I don't really know what's inside your warehouse. What this has done is open the warehouse. People can now see what we sell. People can see what we sell across 10 depots, because the portfolio is often catered for the local catchment area. We never knew what we could sell in that depot. It's only when suddenly customers have gone online and thought, actually, I've seen that product in that depot, could I have it because I want it for here? So it's opened up those opportunities as well. So it's been, we're still learning, Andy. We're still learning.
Okay. Have you seen a difference in how customers are kind of engaging with you?
Yeah, very much so. So, kind of a little bit what you said there. So, some customers are already asking for products we've got in other depots. We've seen the big difference for us is that we've seen customers order more lines. So we measure lines on an invoice, and we've certainly seen that increase. So when customers are sat at home or at work, they're more encouraged to browse and see what else is available. And even though they might have been dealing with us for years and years and years, they've always had almost set products on a template. What we've suddenly seen now is that they're buying something that's really unusual. They're looking at some equipment that we've got online. So it's those odd bits that we suddenly see going out or being added to templates, and customers are buying. So that, for me, that's great. So the customers can see what we've got. They don't have to shop round elsewhere. We have everything that they would need.
Great. And I noticed you are offering click and collect on your website, and that's something you launched during the lockdown.
Yeah, we'd always done, as a company, we've always offered, or for the last 3 years, we've offered call and collect. There is a lot of customers that use that, but what this has brought is opened up the B2C market. So suddenly we've got the general public, whilst the queues were happening at the supermarkets and product shortages were happening at the supermarkets, you know, we sold toilet rolls and we almost didn't run out, if I'm honest with you. We had plenty of that stock. And again, in certain areas we turned to local radio to do some initial point to get people to look at our online ordering. And it's fair to say we sold more toilet rolls in that first 3 weeks than we'd sold in the last 3 years. And what's been interesting, here we are 12 weeks after, 13 weeks after, and we've still got a lot of that B2C traffic. We've got great fish, you know, we buy directly from Iceland, etc. And people love the quality of what we've got, and so they've kept coming back.
Great stuff. And so that's something you're planning to continue for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, very much so. It was always part of our 5-year plan. What that's done is brought it forward, and what we've got to do now as a company is understand what we've got to do to hold on to what we've got, but also to grow that. Some of our systems and processes aren't necessarily built for retail, and so we're working on that now.
Brilliant. Okay. And going into B2C can be a little bit obviously different. You've got a different audience, a wider audience. How did you take that to market? How did you advertise that?
Again, it was the local radio stations where they were trying to point customers to wholesalers that could help out, take the pressure off those supermarkets. What we did do, we looked at our product range. There was lots of products that we were selling by the case, but actually inside the case there were individual units that had the product descriptions on. So we literally generated a shopping list for the average household and put that online, and we were able to sell by the bag rather than by the box. And obviously that just grew sales. That made the average household try seafood baskets, try scampi, and all those great products that they would normally have bought in the supermarket were suddenly available from us.
Excellent. So now we're kind of getting, hopefully, coming out and back into some sort of normality, whatever the new normal is.
Yes.
Has the last sort of quarter changed your views on strategy, or?
It's made us bring projects forward because we can see the opportunities that are there. We'd started some work with the care homes, and that's here to stay for tea quality. There are other areas that we were looking to go into from a delivery point of view. What lockdown did was make customers shout saying they wanted that, so we started to... We now operate with 11 more vehicles than we did back in March, so we've had to expand our fleet for delivery. There's still more we can do with our online. So I always think with online, and when you go to market with a new online offer, it's the start. There's a lot of things you can bolt on to that, and I'm looking forward to adding bits on as customer demand kind of requests them, really.
Brilliant. Well, thanks, Mark. It's been really interesting. It's great to see that kind of level of innovation, so an investment in the market and taking things forward. And I think my takeaway is certainly around the the agility that you've shown in the business to sort of pivot around and to respond to the where we found ourselves on the outbreak of COVID was fantastic. And we hear from the various analysts in the marketplace about how online is going to be growing and those kind of statements. But it's always good to hear from somebody with a cold face, so to speak, about what's actually happening and how that's near the mark, really.
Yeah, I think it will become. It will grow significantly. It's certainly already become a significant part of our business. When I look at what it's worth on a day-to-day turnover point of view, it's landed, it's growing every day at the moment, and more customers are signing up, and I think it will be a major turnover stream for Tea Quality moving forward.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you.
So we hope you found the session useful. Again, I'd like to thank Mike for his time and his contribution. If you would like to share any of your thoughts or ask any questions or get any further information, then you can reach me directly at my email, which is on the screen now, or on the phone details at the on the screen you see in front of you. So thank you very much for listening again, and we hope it's been useful. Thank you.